What's up, gang? This is Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. I am live here, as usual, every Monday through Friday to talk a little pro wrestling with you. Robert, still the voiceless of the voiceless. I did send him a link. Let me make sure I did send him the link. But I did send him a link in case he can make it, but completely understandable if he cannot. We all wish Robert to feel better. I want to hear. I mean, you could. He did do a run-in for Working Stiff, so there's a new Working Stiff episode up. And let me say, his voice, very Fabio-esque. Sounds very, very good. So be sure to check that out, that new episode out. That just dropped yesterday evening. But I'm here with you guys. I have a blue moon. Why not pop one open here at noon? Start the weekend off right, guys. I'm also drinking coffee at the same time. But let's talk a little wrestling. Lots to kind of talk about. We have a SmackDown preview. I actually watched episode 2 of the Vince McMahon documentary, so I have some thoughts on that. Also, in turn, I will also be talking about some free agency news in the works going down here. What happened? Do we not? I saw YouTube comments, and now I don't see the YouTube comments. I saw great ones. Joseph Wade Walters was in here. I think he made a cool, fun joke. Don't know why we do not have the YouTube comments going on right now. But either way, let's get to a little discussion, if you will, about what we have tapped on for SmackDown. So we do. Solo Sikoa is hyped to return en route to epic WWE Bad Blood Showdown. Just 1 week after undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns met at Georgia Tech and gave their word to have each other's back at WWE Bad Blood, Solo Sikoa is set to return Friday night with the Ulafala, oh my god, in his possession. What will the tribal chief of the Bloodline say about the unlikely union of the OTC and the American Nightmare? Find out on SmackDown on USA. How are they gonna hype this? What are we getting out of this? They really need to heat Solo Sikoa up, so to speak. Because I mean, let's look at it. The SmackDown premiere they had, he lost clean to Cody Rhodes, and pretty darn definitively too, right? So it kind of takes the bloom off the rose when you're thinking about him feuding with his cousin Roman Reigns, and because Cody's beaten him. Roman is very credible. Roman has housed the Tonga Twins, the Gorillas of Destiny. He's taken them out. The only wild card here, and the fun wild card, is Jacob Fatu. So very unexpected to kind of. How are they gonna heat them? How are they gonna bring Solo back to relevancy? Back to a little credibility here. He's got to do something tonight, I think, to kind of set that tone, kind of make that his thing of losing kind of wash away. But how do you do that in the pro wrestling realm when he's been losing, and he's in a high profile program with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes now, and Jacob Fatu is arguably the star of the show here when it comes to this aspect of what a fun element he's going to bring. Will we get a show? It's not the go home, so I don't know if we'll get a showdown necessarily of Fatu and Roman Reigns tonight. Will Roman Reigns even be there? He's not hyped for it. I'm sure Cody will, but it's hard to say with the OTC. But yes, that is on tap. How will they position and make Solo Sikoa work? Johnny Disco is in the chat. He just says, "What?" I'm not sure what is about, but go ahead. Hey, if you can chat, try to chat. See if I can get some feedback on here. For some reason, post comments on some destinations. That's what StreamYard is telling me. Dang you, StreamYard. Dang it. What is going on here? No comments available. I wonder if I can pop up the actual channel here and see if I can get some true blue feedback when it comes to the YouTube channel without hearing myself talk. Let's see what I can do here. All right, bear with me 1 second. The YouTube channel without hearing. Okay. So yes, Joseph Wade Walters says, morning rumor heads counting down the days where JR calls Shane Vince. Yes. My goodness. Yeah, right? They were trying to play that off like like it was a circumstantial. Oh, hey, we happen to be on the same flight. Shane sat behind us. But I don't know. Is that kind of my head's all over the place with this? Number one, I don't think it was coincidental. I do think, hey, Shane was there. And number two, is this some damage control stuff? Because you're kind of ruining a surprise by posting Shane McMahon with you, right? There's been rumors, there's been speculation, innuendo. There's been him pictured with Tony Khan in a meeting room. Was that a good move, do you guys think? Because it kind of gives away a lot of the surprise element of it. But in turn, the McMahons are in the news, good and bad aspect. Like the bad aspect with Vince in the documentary series, but then you have Shane McMahon, who's kind of coming across pretty good in this docu-series. So, are they making the most of it? Hey, let's strike while the iron's hot, show this picture of Shane and the Young Bucks together. Or was this something that kind of was the Young Bucks' own move? I couldn't imagine them necessarily not just posting that without getting Tony Khan's A-OK on it. So, I think 85%, maybe 90%, this was not circumstantial. I would say 95%, heck. This was not circumstantial. This totally, Shane was there for a reason, guys. But should be interesting to see what goes down with all that. Because I will say this, and I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking the prominent storylines that WWE has right now. It's your main event kind of stuff. It's CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, it's Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu. It's even Braun Breaker, Jey Uso feels like a big deal. These are just the ones off the top of my head. But now when you think, listen, I don't need this here, but now when you think about AEW's major storyline with Danielson, Moxley, Darby in the mix still, even though he lost, does not, I don't know. It's not my favorite thing on AEW television right now. It's not, but maybe what I would be thinking about is Ricochet and Ospreay, or even, I'm trying to think what another big juicy storyline is for me that's not really going on. It's just nothing. People are there, talent's there. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but nothing really feels like this huge deal with AEW, right? Like, there's nothing that I'm like, oh, I have to see what goes on next week. Like this Danielson storyline. Oh, he's one of my favorite wrestlers, is going to retire, and he's injured, and he's this new faction is kind of taking over, and it looks like he might lose at Wrestle Dream. Like, we're just counting down the minutes now until Danielson loses, and then we don't see him for a while. And there's been nothing that really connects me with AEW and what I want to see from them. WWE, on the other hand, has been doing a very great job with this kind of stuff and making a lot of elements feel big time. And in turn, you're also making a lot of your whole roster feel intriguing. Like, there's so many people that you can latch on to in WWE right now. Like Jey Uso wins the championship. He's a single star. He's super over right now. Why not ride that momentum there? And I was initially against that because I was like, oh, man, you got to give Braun an extended title reign. But look, take a step back. You kind of see for what it is. Jey Uso was the hot hand when it comes to crowd reaction, stuff like that. And Braun is equally hot, but he can stand to lose, and you can stand to... I think the time was now to strike with Jey Uso with this championship. It just felt right. You're going to do it. Do it, and I hope they don't play hot potato with the title. That's all I really kind of hope from this. But, geez, so kind of going off the rails with this SmackDown. Also, we'll have Bayley take on Naomi to determine who challenges Nia Jax in a high-stakes tornado tag team match last week. Bayley and Naomi both pinned Nia Jax, leaving it uncertain who will challenge the WWE Women's Champion at WWE Bad Blood. To answer that question, the role model will go battle the Glow, find out who becomes number one contender. So I guess that takes the whole stipulation of Bayley leaving off the table. You want to establish the SmackDown Women's Division. You don't have, I think, enough stars right now to do it. It just seems like we've been doing the merry-go-round with Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Bayley. It's like, let's get somebody else on this thing to try this out. So what do you guys hope to see happens? I almost see at this juncture, if you're teasing Bayley to have this match, just have her win. Have her beat Naomi. and then have her face Nia Jax again, and then have her lose to Nia Jax again. And maybe the stipulation's back that if she loses, she leaves SmackDown. I I just think Bayley needs to be repackaged and redone a little bit. I just don't. It's not boom boom. Her babyface run, like I've said several times on here, it's just not clicking. You want to harken back to the kind of the nostalgia days of Bayley, but you want a fresh coat of paint with her too. At the same time, what they're doing right now is not really working for Bayley as a babyface. But she's great as a babyface. Let's just find a different lane for her and maybe a different brand for her to be on. All right, we have Andrade once again going to war against Carmelo Hayes. Listen, we thought this series was over. I thought the best of 5 happened, and they were kind of moving on. Doesn't appear that way. After overcoming Carmelo Hayes in their 5th showdown to improve to a record of 3-2 against his adversary, Andrade was sure that his rival with him had concluded. Moments after Andrade came up short against United States champion LA Knight, however, Hayes mocked him and sparked a fierce backstage brawl that set them on a path to another turbulent showdown. You guys like this? Is this feel like treading water though, or does this feel like, hey, I want more from these guys? If you're going by the indication of the latest match, that was great. You want something, you do want a payoff. Is this going to come through somebody's going to get their thing against LA Knight? That's the thing I'm curious about. Is that going to really work? So, or is this going to feel like another kind of lukewarm program where it's just like we're kind of just here. This is another thing to kind of take in. Yeah, will we get LA Knight and somebody else? Will we get LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes, who we initially thought was going to be probably because Carmelo Hayes is more the heel. So that's on tap tonight. We got Mishin looking for retribution against Piper Niven. She is set to battle Chelsea Green in a dumpster match, but as Mishin commented on her plans for Green during SmackDown Lowdown, Piper Niven launched a sneak attack on her. So setting up a little match again with her. Like to see. I know they're trying to heat Mishin up for this dumpster match, but Piper Niven's taking a loss. Are we treading water here? And like you're thinking about this is like this is their new home on USA Network. How do you make this feel viable? Obviously, you're in between the go home episode next week when it comes to Bad Blood, but you're reaching Bad Blood, so. You want to make this stuff sound intriguing. Now, that being said, SmackDown has listed stuff like this before where it's just like nothing really, knocks you out here when it comes to what's promoted. But usually if you tune in, you do get something very good. So we'll see how it is tonight. We will have Collision tomorrow, which is had a lot of big matches on tap. We talked about that yesterday. But I did want to take a moment before, actually, we go to my next topic. Let's talk about DraftKings and the Pick 6 app. Holy smokes, guys. If you made some decent picks last night with the Dallas Cowboys, you might have made a little bit of cashola. What you can do is download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, use promo code RUMOR, and then you get $5. You place a $5 bet, and then you get a little cash back to use on the app. So, yes, if you made some picks last night, more so Dallas Cowboys, anything else like CD Lamb, or maybe what Dak did on the show. I almost said during the game. You might have made a little extra, but you pick 3 players, bet their over and under and what they might do in a certain statistical category, and there you go. You place your bet, and you are good to go. I will do my own bet this weekend again tomorrow, and let you know what it is tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Wait. Today's Friday. Jeez, I should have done it today. Well, let's take a look here real quick. But yes, what you do, you go to the DraftKings Pick 6 app on your, whether it's an iPhone or whether it's an Android, and you download it, and then you make your picks. So let's see what we got here. We got NFL going. I'm going to take a look at that. Baseball, you can do this on any sport too. You can do this on MLB. You can do this on college football tomorrow. I'm just more right now in tune with the NFL. So let's see. So here you go. Jordan Love, maybe questionable to return, but he's going up against the Minnesota Vikings, a division rival in Green Bay. Will he throw for over 43 yards? I think so. I would place the over on that. I would also place the over on Baker Mayfield throwing for over 232 passing yards against Philly. Their passing game, now Tampa's been taking some losses, but they usually can bounce back from stuff like that. So I think Philly secondary is not that very good. So I would place a bet on Baker going over. As far as let's get some rushing guys in here real quick, or some receiving guys. Want to see what really pops out to me here. Here you go, Garrett Wilson on the Jets, my New York Jets. 54 and a half receiving yards. Will he get it? Will he not? I would say he would, especially against Denver. Sean Payton has not done himself any favors when it comes to being admired by the New York Jets, and he's coaching the Denver Broncos, so the hammer could be laid down. But yes, download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, use promo code RUMOR, and then make your picks, see what happens, huh? All right, DraftKings, the crown is yours. So, got to watch episode 2 of the Vince McMahon documentary just this morning. Different takeaways from what I did with episode 1. Episode 1, the big highlight for me, or the big thought process for me, was Vince is masking a lot of previous abuse over, and it really sets the tone for who Vince McMahon became as a person, his thought process on how he views himself, how he views others. You just think about it. He was reportedly badly abused as a kid, and then his relationship with his dad, very strained and very odd, and did not get any love or affirmation from anybody. And see this kind of what this all kind of takes place, and how maybe he books stuff, how he interacts with people, really set the tone for episode 1, I thought. Episode 2, I thought, okay, didn't learn anything crazy, nothing really. But I was kind of impressed, I guess, for how they covered a lot of this scandal stuff in certain ways. That my thoughts were that, okay, they're going to focus on the steroid stuff. The steroid trial, Dr. Zahorian and Hogan, that kind of thing. And they did. But I thought, from what I heard, I thought they were going to avoid the Ring Boy scandal and not talk about that. They did talk about it. They talked about that. They talked about Rita Chatterton. They talked about all this kind of stuff, and really furthered all this early on controversy that Vince McMahon was going through. When WWE was kind of heating up, Hulkamania was running wild, but then Hulkamania was waning, and then all this other stuff is coming out here. Phil Mushnick was a big aspect of this episode. If you're not familiar with him, he writes for the New York Post, and really has constantly been notorious for taking shots at WWE and going after them. And they talk about that, and they talk to him on here too. So definitely you get some mixed reactions when it comes to Phil, and then what WWE thinks of him, or what certain employees think of him, and certain things like that. So, but yeah, now if I'm putting myself in the position as a non-wrestling fan and I'm watching this documentary, will this entice me to watch more? And I was trying to think about that as this all was going on. I don't know. If I was a non-wrestling fan, I could very much see myself being like, nah, I'm okay. I don't need to know more about Vince. They did kind of lead some incentive to tune into the next episode as they're looking to build a new star away from Hulk Hogan, and what they're kind of do in that regards. Now, if you're a wrestling fan, you know what's to come. We're going to hear about the Clique. We're going to hear about Bret Hart. We're going to hear about a lot of other stuff moving forward here. So I'm still intrigued to kind of watch it, even though I'm not really expecting anything to learn anything from it. But is a non-wrestling fan being like, I got to watch the next episode here. I don't know if they necessarily hooked the non-wrestling fans moving forward with this one. I mean, yeah. All the episodes are out now, so it's just like, the numbers come through and, all that kind of thing. But I just was trying to think from the non-wrestling fan perspective, and did they really hook you for the following episode to kind of continue your binge watching, if you will. But yeah, I'm going to watch more of this. like I just said, it's not. I'm not learning anything new too much, but it's also it's neat to get the different perspectives and kind of see maybe what that particular person's intent may be and what they did, and you kind of see how Robert mentioned it on Working Stiff was that the producers are pretty intricate with their editing when it comes to certain things. The Vince is doesn't feel like he's asked directly about the Rita Chatterton stuff. It's almost like he brings it up and then okay, so this is how we can frame it around in this one. Doesn't sound, I don't know, from the vibe I was getting, doesn't sound like the director or producers asked Vince outright about this Rita Chatterton stuff. It was just something he brought up, and then like, we can kind of frame it around this stuff, and here's all the other elements around there. But at the same time, they did talk about it, and they talked about, like I just said, all the other scandals too. So wasn't I'm still engaged, but it's also like, I don't know, if I've never watched the Tiger King stuff, so I can't really speak for that. But is that good? Is it been good? So is that this kind of tone that this whole docu-series is taking? But still some fascinating stuff to talk about. RVD and I are going live tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will be talking about the Vince documentary. I know he's watched a few episodes at least. Might watch the whole thing by now, but he's got some things I think he wants to say on it too. So tune in. Go to OneTrueSportTV.com or go to RVD's YouTube channel. You can check it out there. I might try to get it on RVD TV too tonight. We'll see. But be sure to tune in. Subscribe to RVD TV too, and you can get that episode further down the line here with the clips and all that stuff. All your content that you can see with the RVD podcast will be on RVDTV.com. So also, let's talk about some of the free agency news in the mix here. This morning, the Wrestling Observer has reported that it might be a while till we see the Lucha Brothers in WWE because, according to Dave Meltzer, AEW is planning to incorporate the injury aspect to Rey Fenix's contract. So he's got injury time to make up, and according to Meltzer, it's nearly a year long. Wow. So that's quite some time until we see Rey Fenix. Now, will he show up back on AEW programming and make some appearances? I don't know. Now, as Penta goes, it sounds like he's only got a couple months on his contract, and he has not negotiated with WWE, but once he's able to, and his contract is set to expire, I guess now in a couple months. You've heard so many different reports when it comes to this stuff, that he will negotiate with them when he does. And apparently he's got a lot of reasons that he wants to leave AEW, and one of those that Meltzer noted was frustration. Sean Ross Sapp also kind of confirmed that we probably won't be seeing the Lucha Brothers for a while in WWE. So pretty big bummer. In the grand scheme of it all, too, if you look at it, like, man, how much did they misuse the Lucha Brothers in AEW? Like, such top-tier talent. Big signings at the time, too. It felt like what AEW was trying to further with an alternative brand, early on. Hey, we are different than WWE, and look at the kind of talent that we can get here, like the Lucha Brothers. And they felt like big time, and then, they were in the tag team division for so long. You got to see a lot of their athleticism. But then they would have them lose in singles matches. They would have them do this stuff. One of them would get hurt, and then you wouldn't see them for a little bit. And then it's just like so many changing elements when it came to how they were utilized, and then ultimately underutilized. And it's really a shame, because I remember seeing Penta come out sometimes in singles matches, sometimes as tag partners, but he'd come out in a suit and he'd look like world champion material, man. Like, it was a really neat vibe he was giving off. And they did not ride with any of that momentum. Like, I honestly think either of those guys could have been an AEW World Champion at one point, and I wouldn't have batted an eye to it. And you could have positioned them in the right way to make them to either if they needed a mouthpiece or you had a different way to kind of convey their personas and identity. That would have been the thing to do. Could you imagine if they were in a high-profile feud with another guy that's been underutilized in Malachi Black in the House of Black? You have them go up against, man, just some really another feels like quite a bummer with AEW and what they did and didn't do with the Lucha Brothers. Yeah, they were both AAA champions. Isn't that crazy to think too? They're AAA champions. Why not? Yeah. Penta strutting ass his money. It's true. He's very good. It's like what the it's such a head scratcher that they did not use them the right way. You think of all the fun stuff they could have done. Just a bummer. It's just a bummer. And now the fact that we might not see them for a while is also an added bummer. It's just man, like Penta I believe is my age and like I think he's reported before that he's really primarily looking out for his whole family in regards to taking care of them and making sure that they're taken care of. And WWE did make pretty much proposed a good offer for him, and he plans to negotiate with them. So, yeah, I'm happy that we're gonna get to sometime see them, but it doesn't sound like we're gonna see them for a while. Another name Meltzer mentioned in his newsletter was Dustin Rhodes. The expectation, according to Meltzer, is that he's expected to re-sign with AEW. Dustin would be valuable on either promotion. I think if he was to re-sign with AEW, I would make note to use him a lot more than what they have been on television. Now, granted, he's a double champion right now. He's the ROH Tag Team Champion with Sammy Guevara, and he's the ROH Trios Champions with the Von Erichs, one of my favorite tag teams. So they are using him a little bit more in the right fashion, I would say. But I think he's such a valuable talent. You want to use him even more than what you're doing and make him like I would say a pretty decently regular figure on your primary programming. So Dynamite, get him in the mix. It just doesn't. So many of these talents feel very underutilized and stuff like that. But either way, I'd be happy for Dustin, seeing him flourish, continue to work in AEW. But I mean, there's a lot of intriguing elements, obviously, if he were to go to WWE as well. So I think Dustin though is very focused on his new wrestling promotion, the Rhodes Wrestling Association, I believe it's called, or the Rhodes. It's definitely a Rhodes. Yeah, I think it's the Rhodes Wrestling Association. I think it is, and then his Rhodes Wrestling Academy. So everybody praises Dustin up and down, and for good reason, because he's helped so many talents. The women's division, you hear all the time how great he is at doing that. And then you think about what a good inspiration and good source of information he can be for younger talent too. He's just, they talk about the pillars of AEW. I would say Dustin is actually a pillar of AEW, especially now that Cody's been gone. So it's cool to see him do what he's doing at his age and all the stuff that he's been through. It's really rewarding to see. I love Dustin. He's one of my favorites. And so either way, I'd be happy for Dustin, whatever decision he decides to make. Wrestling Old Head joins us. I'm super late. I understand Dustin wants to keep wrestling, but I would love to see Goldust in WWE Hall of Fame in Nevada of all places. Yeah, that'd be interesting, right? For that small payoff, I kind of just wouldn't want to see that yet. Dustin's got plenty of years to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. So I'm okay if he wants to continue staying active and all that kind of stuff. I would much rather see him just be a prominent figure on pro wrestling television, because I think there's so much value still in him. Guys, I guess that'll do it for this weekend. Lots to talk about, I'm sure, after Friday settles down. Maybe SmackDown will have some news to take away. Raw, we're heading into Bad Blood, so I'm sure we'll have some good stuff to preview there. AEW's going to start gearing up for Wrestle Dream here at some point, but they got to do some stuff to hook me. Hopefully Collision will have some takeaways that maybe we can touch upon too on Monday. But and hopefully Robert will be ready to go. His voice will sound operatic, like a Pavarotti, perhaps. I want to see maybe a new Robert, basically. Maybe COVID completely has changed him, and he hits an epiphany, and he's a completely different person. You know, I still like the regular Robert we get, but maybe this will be a new fresh coat of paint on him, like Bailey needs. I don't think Robert needs it, but I would like to see. Maybe we'll get a new Robert. Who knows? I'm just I'm just joshing, guys. Hey, okay. So as I said, be sure to tune in tonight. RVD, one of a kind. You can tune in at onetruesporttv.com. You can also tune in on Rob Van Dam's YouTube channel as well. We'll be live on there. We'll be live on his Twitter. But be sure to subscribe to rvdtv.com, and that's where you'll get all your content there. I also want to make sure to note that Arn Anderson is going to be back in the podcast realm. He recorded a new episode this week. And then he's joining forces with Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. So all their shows will be on the same podcast feed. Keep your eyes peeled. They'll be back in the mix there. Be sure to check out my interview with Big Bill. It's short, fun, 15-minute interview where we talk about his nephew, his baby nephew, where hopefully at this point his baby nephew might be becoming baby of the year for the Good Housekeeping contest. But tune into that. Check that one out. You can check that out at onetruesporttv.com. And yeah, as for Robert, check out Working Stiff. New episode up. Robert talks about the Vince doc, talks about Grand Slam. They also talk about, there's something interesting. Oh, Shane on a Plane talks about that as well with Scott. So fun episode there. Tune into there. And yeah, that will do it. TGIF, have a little fun. Tune into RVD tonight. And hey, guys, gals, best of luck in your future endeavors. Stand back.